I never believed in ghost towns until I drove into one. It started as an assignment for an independent documentary series, a story about forgotten places, strange rituals, and dying traditions. I'd been on the road for 12 hours when I saw the sign, "Welcome to Fairvale, the town that lights candles for the dead." The letters were half-rotted, the wood gray and swollen with rain, but the message felt fresh, as though someone had repainted it just to make sure travelers wouldn't miss it. The road leading in was narrow, lined with bare trees that bent toward the center like ribs closing around a heart, and by the time I reached the first house, my radio had gone dead and my phone had lost its signal. I thought it was the valley, or maybe the weather, but the silence said wait, the kind that presses against your skin. Then I saw the candles, hundreds of them flickering in the dusk, on every porch, every window, every fence post. The air smelled of wax and damp earth, and somewhere far away, something metallic, like iron or blood, lingered beneath it. I stopped the car, rolled down the window, and heard it. The soft, synchronized sound of maches striking in unison. Dozens, maybe hundreds, all lit at once. I remember whispering to myself, they really do it. They light candles for the dead. I should have left then. I should have turned around and never looked back. But curiosity has its own kind of gravity, and that night, it pulled me straight into hell. I checked into a small inn at the center of town, run by an old woman named Clara, who had cloudy gray eyes and a permanent half-smile, as if she were both welcoming and warning me. The lobby was dim, lit only by candles and brass holders. There was no electricity, no sound except the faint hiss of melting wax. When I asked if there was a room available, she handed me a brass key with a number scratched into it. 7, and a candle, in a glass holder. "Keep this lit," she said softly. "If it goes out, they'll notice you." I laughed, thinking she was joking, but her expression didn't change. "Who will notice me?" I asked, and her eyes flicked to the window where the wind pressed against the pane before she murmured, "The ones who never left." I brushed it off as local superstition. My job was to observe, not believe. But that night, as I sat in the creaking bed, I began to hear things, a soft tapping under the floorboards, then scratching, faint but deliberate, repeating in rhythm like someone tracing letters on the wood. I leaned over the edge of the bed with my flashlight, but the scratches stopped. "Primera, hua, aited." Then a whisper came from beneath the floor. My name, quiet as breath moving through dust. "Daniel." I dropped the flashlight, and it rolled under the bed. For a second, the light flickered on something pale and moving. I scrambled up, grabbed the candle, and held it close. The flame steadied, and the sound stopped. The room smelled of cold wax and rot. I stayed awake until dawn, watching the candle burn lower and lower until only a stub remained. When the first morning light came, I laughed nervously at myself, blaming sleep deprivation or gas from the old pipes. But deep down I knew something had called to me. The next day, I walked through town with my camera, trying to talk to locals. Most avoided eye contact, and those who did speak gave vague answers. A middle-aged man at the general store said the candles were for protection, not remembrance. A child whispered that the flames keep them calm. No one explained who they were. Every door had a name carved into it, not the residents' names, but someone else's, always followed by a date from decades ago. "Is that who the candles are for?" I asked, and the shopkeeper just nodded and looked at the floor. When I asked where the names came from, he said, "You'll see if you stay through the night." The unease grew like a storm behind my ribs, but I couldn't leave. Not yet. I wanted the truth. That evening, I returned to the inn, where Clara was setting fresh candles on the windowsill. I asked her about the ritual. She sighed, almost in relief, and said, "You'll never understand until you see it with your own eyes." "Tonight's the anniversary." I asked, "Anniversary of what?" And after a pause, she said, "The night we stopped dying." At dusk, the whole town gathered in the square, every resident carrying a candle. Hundreds of flames swaying in the wind like a living sea of light. The air buzzed with low murmurs that seemed to vibrate beneath the skin. In the center stood a stone well, sealed with iron, surrounded by carved names. The same ones from the doors. I set up my camera, heart pounding, as the church bell rang 9 times, and everyone lit their candles in unison. The sky deepened to a bruised blue, and the air grew cold enough to see my breath. I felt a vibration beneath my feet, faint at first, then rising like something waking under the ground. The townsfolk began to chant. I couldn't understand the words, but the rhythm was hypnotic, pulling me closer to the well. The iron lid trembled, and a hiss echoed from within, like air escaping a grave. One by one, the candles nearest the well began to dim, not blow out, just fold inward, their light being devoured. From the edges of the crowd, shapes began to move, gliding, drawn to the dying flames. Their outlines flickered, revealing faces that were sunken, hollow, and waxen. I lifted my camera, but static shattered the screen. Then I realized they weren't reflections. They were stepping into the light. Panic hit. People tried to back away, shielding their candles, but each movement stretched the shadows longer, hungrier. I saw a man stumble, his candle dying as it hit the dirt. The nearest shape turned on him, mouth opening to release a sound that wasn't a scream or a voice, but the hiss of air through dead lungs. He vanished like smoke, his candle relit, burning black at the center. Clara's hand clamped onto my arm. "Don't run," she whispered. They'd noticed the ones who move, so I stood there, frozen, candle trembling in my hand as those things drifted through the crowd like darkness made flesh. I understood then. The candles weren't tributes. They were locks. And this ritual was meant to keep what lay beneath, the well contained. My lighter slipped from my pocket and hit the ground. The spark flared, and for one instant, my candle went out. I felt wind rush past, and the sudden certainty that something ancient had turned toward me. The chanting stopped. Only my heartbeat remained, and the slow inhale of something just behind me. I ran. I don't remember deciding to, but my body moved on instinct. Candle clutched tight as I tore through the streets. Every window I passed showed faces that weren't mine pressed to the glass, eyes hollow, mouths whispering stay. The road out of town twisted like it was alive, and the further I ran, the smaller the light from my candle became. Houses blurred into black shapes. The air grew colder with every step. When I look back, a mistake I'll never forget. And the town was gone. In its place lay a valley filled with candles burning on nothing, floating flames suspended in mist. Between them drifted figures, hundreds, each holding a candle of their own. I realized every flame was a soul trapped in the ritual. I don't know how I escaped. I woke in my car at dawn, engine dead, the candle still burning on the dashboard even though no wax remained. When I drove away, the road behind me dissolved into fog. I tried to contact my editors, but no one by their names existed. My footage was blank, my photos erased. The only proof is this story, written here by hand, because every time I try typing the town's name, my laptop crashes. It's been weeks, and still, every night, I see candlelight flicker outside my window. Sometimes one flame, sometimes dozens. I've stopped blowing them out. Once I tried, and woke to find wax handprints on my door, pressed from the inside. I think the town followed me. Or maybe I never really left. Maybe it's waiting for me to light the next candle to join them. So if you're watching this, and your lights flicker as you listen, don't panic. But don't blow them out either, because somewhere beyond the places maps remember, there is still a town that lights candles for the dead, and every time a flame goes dark, it needs another to take its place. If you've made it this far, you already know the truth. The dead don't rest. They just wait for someone to remember them. Maybe that someone is you, and if you think this was terrifying, you should see what happens in the next story. The one where the candles go out completely. Click if you dare, and let the next nightmare begin.